So right about the time that I turned 50, yes, half of a century old, um, I started kind of assessing things and looking into Social Security and retirement and all of these types of things. And all of a sudden, it dawned on me that I still had 15 years of working. And how was that going to look for me in the job that I was currently in? So I really started to assess some things, and ultimately I changed career paths, and it was really, really, really scary. So I wanted to share with you today what led up to that, why I made that decision, and how it is going thus far. So welcome back, my friends. I am Cheryl. Welcome to Sunshine and Coffee. Get your coffee, sit back, relax. Not gonna lie, I am currently drinking some sugar-free ginger ale because it is 2 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon. And if I started drinking coffee again right now, I would be up all night. But that's a whole other thing. So I am currently 53 years old. So I am 12 to 13 years from retirement, which sounds both really, really, really far away, but also is a little weird because in my mind, I am like 12 years old. Well, no, I lie. I'm probably like in my mind like 22. So the thought of thinking about retirement was always like so far away. Like take out the 401k, buy the car, do whatever. I wasn't really thinking about it. And then 50 was kind of my wake up call, to be honest. So, back in 2002, I believe, I started working at the local school, elementary school. I was in ILA, which that's what it was called then. Now it's a paraprofessional, basically like a teacher's assistant, special education, mostly classroom teacher, stuff like that. And I did that for a long time until I had my third child. In 2009, I was laid off from that particular school. And then not too long after that, I found out I was pregnant with my third child at 37. So I was going to be out of work at that point anyway. Now fast forward to deciding to go back to work in 2014. I went back to education. It's all I had known for quite some time at that point. My other background was in administrative assisting, and my major jobs at that point had been within factories and law firms. Most of the law firms near me would have been going into a nearby city, either Providence or Boston, and neither of them were super conducive for having 3 children at home. So at that point, the best option seemed to be to stay within the school department with what I knew. So I went back to work at the school department part-time, just working a few hours a day. From there, I went into substituting. And I did that for a pretty short period of time before a full-time position came available. And the teacher that I was working with, who the position would be with, asked me to apply for the job. I ultimately applied and got a job back in the elementary school November of that year. So I started subbing in September. By November 1st, actually October 31st, I was hired full-time back into a school, elementary school, which I loved. I was there for a few years. Everything was great. Like I said, I had been doing education for a long period of time. So that was good. I ultimately got hurt and had to have surgery maybe 5 years later. And after the surgery, when it was time to go back to work, I was not fully healed enough to go back to my regular position. And the school district found a position for me at a middle school. I was not happy about it, terrified to go into middle school, and a little apprehensive because my son was actually in school there and I didn't really know how that would look. Ultimately, I went and I really, really, truly enjoyed the school, the staff that I was working with. I was doing 3 times a day. I was doing Spanish class in 8th grade. And I loved it. I loved learning Spanish. I loved the teacher. We had a great relationship. So it was so much better than I anticipated. And then the following year, I was moved to a different grade level. It was much harder. There are certain middle school grades that are just a little tricky, and things just started to change. Student behaviors were really on the rise as they are now. And this was 3 or 4 years ago. I was extremely overweight. I was not in a good place physically and mentally. It was really, really taking a toll on me. My 50th birthday was coming up. That school year ended. The following school year, I was put back into the same grade level. Loved the teachers, but it was just the behaviors and the student attitudes and the privilege of the parents and the students were just starting to get to me in a way that I was coming home and all I could do was count the minutes before I would come home to actually have a glass of something to like relax me. And I was like, this is not good. I cannot continue to do this for 15 plus years. And at that point, I started to look into my pension and Social Security. So anyone who knows, if you're an educator, you're in the education system, we pay into a whole different ball game. So you don't actually, I don't know if this is a Massachusetts thing, if this is a federal thing, I'm not even sure, but I don't pay into Social Security working for the school department. And at that point, my Social Security, I mean, who knows what's going to be available when that time comes, but my Social Security was from like 1988 to 2000 maybe. So not a long period of time. And then a couple of side jobs or small part-time jobs thrown in there here and there. And all of the rest of my adult money was in this pension. However, this did not start until 2016 because all of my previous money I had cashed out, not ever expecting to go back to education. And I don't really know why. I think just because of the way that it all happened. Like they had restructured the entire school department and they laid everybody off and most people were not being rehired. So I think at that point, I just assumed I would never go back. Administration, superintendent, school committee, everything changed in the next few years, which then gave me the opportunity again to be back into the school system. But I guess I just never really thought that much about it. And we had cashed out my retirement for whatever it was that we needed at that point because we had a small child, 2 teenage boys, and I wasn't working. So lesson learned, don't do that. roll your stuff over, hold on to your stuff. Do not cash out and spend your 401ks, your IRAs, your pension. Don't do what I did. Don't make that mistake. So lesson 1. Now I'm back there for several years and realizing I don't think I have another 15 years in me. I loved my job. I took great pride in the work that I did. I loved when I was in elementary school. Middle school I knew was going to be a challenge, but I really, truly enjoyed it when I began. Unfortunately, that changed rather quickly. And as much as I loved the job, I really got to the point where I knew 15 years, I probably wasn't going to make it. So I started reassessing, and the secretary in the office of the school that I was working at was retiring. I have a certification in administrative assisting. That is what I went to school for after high school and was always pretty good at it. So I really started considering all of my options. And my husband and I went on and we looked through Social Security, and I looked into the pension that I currently had. So where being a paraprofessional in the school department, the secretaries would now pay into the same thing. Teachers are actually different, but the secretaries, the custodial staff, and the paraprofessionals all pay into this same pension plan. So switching and staying 13 to 15 years in the school department ultimately, for me, ended up being financially what would be the smartest. If I took that from where I was and just ended it, it wouldn't have gotten me anywhere. My only option would have been to cash it out, and it would have been extremely minuscule in order to go over to Social Security. And then I would have lost such a huge chunk of Social Security that I don't think that was going to be super beneficial to me. And then came the questions of 10 to 15 years from now, what is Social Security going to even be, if anything? So by staying in the school department, I will be paying into my pension. I will have eligibility for continued health care that will, cost a little less, but still be deducted right from my pension going forward, which is huge, and continue to earn vacation, longevity, all of these other benefits that are not typically available in, just regular jobs out there. So obviously I applied for the job. I was fortunate enough to get the job, which was huge. That was really stressful. And in the end, I took a pay cut, but would also be getting more hours and then vacation time. So in the end, it kind of balanced out, but ultimately was the best decision that I ever made. Mentally, the change, the load has just been lifted. So much of the stress that I was under every single day, being upstairs with the students, responsible for IEPs, 504s, behaviors, safety care training, all of these things, it was a lot. And that mental burden every single day, I knew I was not going to be able to do for 15 years. And I knew that we needed to figure out our financial future at that point. So ultimately, my husband ended up changing jobs. he switched to a job that was going to be less physical and strenuous on him. He's the same age as me, and he was doing a lot of physical work, a lot of things on his knees. His knees were starting to give out a little. So we both kind of switched careers into our 50s, which was really, 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 really scary, really hard. But I think ultimately for both of us ended up being just the best choices ever, because it took so much of that burden off of our shoulders and has really given us a place to start building our retirement future. Even though it's a little late, obviously I wish that we had done this sooner. And there was a lot of other things within my life that really started making us look at that. And that I might do a whole separate video on. But one advice that I think I would give is to start looking at your retirement now. I know my son is 29. My son is a manager at Electric Boat. They build submarines, and he has been building his 401k for more than 5 years already, which makes me so happy, so proud. And he talks about it. He knows it. He's got stocks and he does investments. Obviously, I wish that we had done those things, but we weren't in a place financially to do that. I had 3 kids. There was a lot going on in life all of the time, and that was just not possible. But every single day now, this is something that I'm thinking about. I check my pension. We're looking at our Social Security. We're watching our savings. We're doing all of these things to build our future so that we can have a life and enjoy retirement. And again, that's something that I will do a completely separate video on, kind of what brought us to this point. But if you are thinking about a career change and your mental health is dependent upon it, if you can do it financially, I say take the plunge, jump off the bridge, do it. It was the best decision that I ever made. I come home completely relaxed and at ease every single day. I mean, that's not to say that when I'm at work, there isn't a lot of pressure. There's not a lot going on. But I also thrive in that type of environment and really welcome that when I'm at work. But then I don't have to take it home with me. So completely, completely different. Changing careers was the best thing that I ever did, and starting to focus on our retirement and how soon that can come has really been quite the journey. So that is my story. I hope that it helps somebody. If you have any questions, or if you have any tips for what you are doing to start your retirement planning, please drop it in the comments below. I would love to hear all about it. Thank you, my friends, so much for being here. I will catch you guys on the next one. Bye.